Wonder if y'all could hear me. 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. Oh, I know how to make this rock. Pretty simple. Boom. Who's up here? Make this rock. Pretty simple. Boom. Who's up here? It's like why would I have a mic set up? It's like why would I have a mic set up? All that money we spend on microphones. We in the mix though. And I was Portland versus Denver. Denver's looking legit. I mean, Portland looks legit. What are we gonna say? Denver's kind is healthy. 26 for Aaron Gordon. You're still down by 15. Horrendous. What is the box score? Oh, where's the games? The Nuggets look bad. Joker has 20. Oh, did he get hurt? 24 minutes. No, did he get kicked out of the game? Seriously. People be peeking in and out. I'm wondering if I should. Two starting guards for Portland. They scored 57 points. The Nuggets' two starting guards just 14. That's a big disparity. That's a killer. 7:16 remaining. Jokic playing with 5 fouls, but that really doesn't matter right now. The Nuggets trying to keep their starters in. Getting down 15. Yeah. If you can get the next 3-4 minutes, cut it to 7 or 8. Yeah. Get a chance. Get a chance. But if the next 4 minutes are for a teller, when you get chances to come back. Blazers got their starters in too. So here we go. And the Nuggets get some stops here. They haven't been able to in the second half at all. They may try to come to Joker almost looks like. Joker's back in the game. They're down by 15. Jeremy Grant inside. Jeremy Grant. Portland is playing amazing, man. They beat the Lakers yesterday, and they were just competitive with them all the way, regardless of what you thought or what you think about LeBron and AD and Westbrook being the primary problem. I don't know if Darvin Ham's gonna have to get. He's gonna have to really show if he's a great head coach sooner than later. I mean, it all takes time. It is early. It is early, right? So
but it's still going to take, like Philadelphia just won for the first time today. The Lakers are going to keep it going. I think LeBron is. We still haven't seen anyone at this age play this well. People say Karl Malone, and you know what? That's a good point with Karl Malone. Just don't know if Karl Malone was at Karl Malone at his peak. Was he as good as LeBron at his peak? And I know he got an MVP, but Karl Malone could not run an offense by himself. He really couldn't rely on Karl Malone being the leader of the team. But either way, Portland, they're on their way to be 4-0. Like who's their best player? Dame is clearly their leader, their best player. They're playing team ball, man. Team ball. Let's go to the Blazers. All right. It's Dame time. They're 3-0, about to go 4-0. The Jazz lost tonight for the first time. Out the gate, surprising. And again, we have 8 more months left of basketball. But the Jazz are going to be 10-man rotation. All these teams have to set an identity. Anyone who's been criticizing Dame Lillard, by the way, needs to shut the hell up. That's what you got to do. If you've been criticizing Dame Lillard, he just shut you up. Minnesota out the gate, they don't look great. I don't like Minnesota out the gate. I didn't know how they would fit with Gobert and Cat. Then Cat is soft, and Gobert clearly has been taken out of lineups. He's been taken out of playoff games, excuse me. And he's been targeted. You're going to hear it ad nauseum. Luka Doncic targets Rudy Gobert. And a player like that, defensive player of the year multiple times, I think it's going to become controversial as a defensive player of the year. As time goes on, we're going to look at that like, how can he be the defensive player of the year? Which is tough because Ben Wallace has 3 or 4 defensive players of the years. Could he have played on this level? I'm not sure. That's Dame. So look, we see here 34 points a game for Dame Lillard, leads the squad. 4.3 assists, leads the squad. Josh Hart, 56% field goal shooting. Josh Hart also has 16 rebounds against the Lakers. 111 points per game as of right now, 48 rebounds a game. Now, things like this, that's when I start to look at the ranking. Where do they rank? They scored 111 points a game, 48 rebounds a game, 17 assists per game. But where do they rank? Let's see. Yeah. Offensive rating. Offensive ratings are, I don't fully understand these stats, but I use them as a marker. Offensive rating. The Mavericks are number 1. So the Mavericks, Celtics, Pelicans, Hornets, and Cavs, they round out the top 5 in offensive rating. So the Portland Trailblazers, who are about to go on to 4-0, they've been smoking the Nuggets the entire game. Joker, I thought, was hurt. He's not hurt. I don't know if Jamal Murray played. He looks like Josh Hart. What did he do today? Josh Hart, 11 rebounds again. Last game, he had 16 rebounds. Look, only 6 points, 1 assist. But how do you make yourself playable? How do you contribute to the squad? You get rebounds. You do something out there. Anthony Simons made up last game. He was like 3 for 11 against the Lakers. 3 for 11 from the field, 0 for 6 from three. This game, 11 of 17 from the field in general, 7 of 12 from three. Once he's on fire, it's over. And Jamal Murray does not look like he was playing. So he looks like he's playing one game off, one game on. Jamal Murray, right? No, he did play. Jamal Murray did play and did horrible. 3 of 12, 8 points. Only 3 players in double digits scoring for the Nuggets. I don't see how that's going to cut it. Michael Porter, he came back. He's doing his thing, 4 of 8 from 3. Joker is not even the one in double figures. Aaron Gordon, Michael Porter, and B. Highland. Is this the first time? I wonder how long it's been since Joker has gotten into double digits. He got a triple single, the infamous Draymond. 2 comments. I'm sorry, I didn't read the comments. Sierra, what's up? Yo. What up, C? My bad, I'm just seeing it. I'll leave the comments on because I don't end up seeing them. But Denver can't win like this. B. Highland, I don't even know who the hell you are. No disrespect. If Joker's still in the game, yeah, he's out. A lot of these teams, they look like they're all in a have a chain reaction, a chain effect. They just, next man up. And I've been saying for a while, this might be the best NBA season since 1993. Might be the best NBA season since 1993. Oh, I can't share the other screen. Hold on. Just going to share this other screen real quick. Advanced team stats. This is what I was looking at a little second ago. Your top 5 teams in offensive rating. After tonight, things will change, obviously, but Portland's going to get up there. They weren't going into the night unless this is. Do they have a warning here saying otherwise? But they were bottom 25. Is this year? This is this year. Just to make sure this is this season. Mavericks best in the league. But the Mavericks are close to last. And no, they're top in defense. The Bucks are the best defensive team. The Lakers are as well, but they can't score. They're the only team below 100 offensive rating in the league. The Clippers are second worst. That's what I was trying to tell Dime. Shout out to Dime Dropper. He didn't believe me. I felt like the Clippers offense looked clunky. And they're gonna make up for it with one-on-one, a lot of the one-on-one play. But I just don't see it. They're not that interesting to me. You see the Heat is up there as well. Their defensive rating is kind of high. Wizards. But Portland is up here, top 5 in defense. Now, this 107 rating, offensive rating, it should shoot up after today. And this is 4 games in a row for them. We were looking at their leaders. or trying to. Net rating, rebounding percentage. Like, see, these are when you get the real analytical stats. But a lot of them, people hate. It can get complicated. I know true shooting percentage is, I think the field goal percentage combined with the free throw percentage. Although the glossary work, true shooting percentage. Like, what is? So it's pretty simple, right? What is true shooting percentage? Good old Wikipedia. True shooting percentage is an advanced statistic that measures a player's efficiency at shooting the ball. It is intended to more accurately calculate a player's shooting than field goal percentage, free throw percentage, and 3-point field goal percentage, taken individually. 2 and 3-point field goals and free throws are all considered in its calculation. It's abbreviated true shooting percentage. It is calculated by true shooting percentage, points divided by 2 times field goal attempts plus. Wow. I would love to know how the fuck did they even come to this conclusion with 0.44, and why you as Wikipedia never went into this. All these references you guys have, but you never went into the fact, you never went into just looking into the definition of true shooting percentage. What a bunch of jerks. You know what? What is the history of true shooting? Rudy Gobert being the best at all time true shooting percentage is horrendous. Introduction and framework. The idea of true shooting percentage is simple. We take half of the number of points James Harden 40-point triple double on Memphis. There were times when they posted. I just do this. Okay, yeah, that makes it easier, right? They're using James Harden as an example with Allen Iverson, right? James Harden dropped yet another 40-point triple-double on the Memphis Grizzlies and a 101 victory in Houston. This is an article from January 19th, 2019, guys, so don't act like this is brand new. Calm your flackers. And it wasn't the 43 points, 10 rebounds, and 13 assists that was the most impressive stat of the night, but rather the fact that Harden scored 43 points to spite making only 8 field goals. If we were to have a discussion of efficiency 20 years ago, let's call it the Allen Iverson era, we would have called Harden's performance highly efficient, as he only had taken 19 field goal attempts, identifying as a whopping 2.26 points per field goal attempt, a dream to the New York Times when they posted Allen Iverson's 41 points on 36 field goals as dominant. However, the power of hindsight, we know how to better measure scoring efficiency thanks to true shooting percentage. True shooting percentage isn't a new concept by any means. It's been around for roughly 15 years. And maybe more to some savvy analysts, has been discussed quite frequently over the years. 4 years ago, Justin Willard and Nylon Calculus gave a nice introduction to true shooting percentage. For the uninitiated, the formula is given as this. True shooting percentage equals points over 2 times field goal attempts plus 0.44 free throw attempts. As a quick refresher. The idea of true shooting percentage is simple. We take half the number of points scored by a player and divide it by the number of possessions that result in a chance at scoring. Some folks call this scoring possessions. Some folks call this scoring chances. Some folks call this true shooting attempts. It has many names and causes a little confusion between analysts from time to time. I personally prefer just calling it scoring attempt. So basically, they're factoring half the number of points you have for a game and then multiplying that by close to half the free throws and the field goal attempts. And they're talking about all the opportunities you may have had, not opportunities you may have had, all the chances you took at scoring. Yeah, all the opportunities and chances and how efficient you actually were. It makes sense that Rudy Gobert is top of the list since he's going to be at the top of the list for field goal percentage as well. I don't think he's a great free throw shooter. Portland officially won the game. That was a massacre. 135-110. Shout out to whoever's listening to us right now on Put It in Perspective TV. So, as far as that's concerned, slight detour on the 44. As the analytic was developed several years ago, the ability to trawl through play-by-play made it fairly difficult for an analyst to correctly count the number of scoring attempts. Through some detailed analysis performed during the same era, a value of 0.44 was used to help approximate the number of possessions when using box score stats. The idea is that we knew the number of free throws, along with the defensive rebounds, field goal attempts, and so forth. And we assume that field goals terminate possessions, rendering made and won free throws as non-possession ending. Then roughly 44% of free throws actually potentially terminate possessions. The idea is rather straightforward, as this suggests 6% of free throws are and ones, and missed three-point attempts, technical, flagrant, clear path, or away from the play fouls, and the analysis was fairly spot on. That's pretty crazy. For them to figure out or consider, I have to reread this. This is when I become slow, and this is when most people get turned off with analytics, because I have to reread this to understand what the hell I just read out loud. And being on camera does not help, right? But on top of that, I don't understand this. So if I don't understand it, maybe you guys do, as I try to eloquently express it. The idea is that we knew the number of free throws along with defensive rebounds, field goal attempts, and so forth, and we assume that field goals terminate possessions, rendering made and ones. We assume that made field goals terminate possessions. All right, rendering made and one free throws as a non-possession ending. Then roughly 44% of free throws actually potentially terminate possessions. The idea is rather straightforward, as this suggests 6% of free throws are and ones, missed 3-point attempts, technical, flagrant, clear path, or away from the play fouls, and the analysis was fairly spot on. So they're factoring in when you think of free throws, and it's true, I normally think of getting to the line and then shooting two baskets. But there are so many other types of free throws on technical fouls away from the play fouls, which is they kind of got rid of this year. Or they changed it. 3-second violation, which is a technical foul. Oh, I don't know if it's a technical. Is a 3-second violation a technical? A team committing a defensive 3-second violation is assessed a team technical foul. The offense receives one free throw and retains possession of the ball. So there's a difference between a team technical foul, right, and a technical foul on a player. Because obviously, if you get a technical foul as a player, you only allow 2 of those, and then you're out of there. So the analysis was made that 6% of free throws are and ones, missed 3-point attempts, technical, flagrant, clear path, or away from the play fouls, and it was spot on. So they're saying that they reviewed everything, and this is pretty close to it. That's accurate. That's pretty accurate. 2 years ago, Matt Femright and Nylon Calculus spent time showing that the coefficient of 44 had become outdated, suggesting that possessions were now being overestimated. As possessions were being overestimated, it was theorized that the value of 44 was too high, indicating that a higher percentage of free throws were of the 3-point variety and ones and the other various types listed above. We took a look at the same phenomenon from an estimation standpoint and found Matt's work to be corroborated with a proposed 43.436 value for the 2016-2017 NBA season. While our focus was on possession counting and inherently their impact on ratings, showing that ratings were now being underestimated, there was a domino effect on true shooting percentage, meaning that true shooting percentage is now being underestimated. Therefore, a field goal today is worth less than a field goal yesterday because players are more effective at drawing fouls on higher valued scoring attempts, particularly and ones and 3-point attempts. This led us to digging deep into the distributions of free throws for each team. We found that by counting possessions explicitly, the changes in true shooting percentages would actually shuffle players around from the theoretical answer to an updated tactical answer. Great, but honestly, overkill and unnecessary unless we really want to squeeze out the extra point of edge in a game. And we can find 2 or 3 points somewhere else just by inducing a rotation. But that's another story for another time. If we compare the analytically derived value of 436 and compared to 44, every single free throw a player makes, the denominator of true shooting percentage is theoretically affected by 0.008. This is why people do not want to understand analytics. Once you turn basketball into physics or whatever tough math. I can't even think of a tough math class or course in college. I don't know, but it's just turned into that. But if you're a general manager and you're an owner of a team, definitely if you're an owner of a team, this speaks to you. And this is why it got so popular, especially with the tech boom. Someone like a Mark Cuban entering the world of basketball, someone like Steve Ballmer entering the world of basketball, you know for a fact that this is what they understand as businessmen. Numbers. And that's all that they really respect, no matter what they invest in. They only care about what the numbers look like, who can provide them better numbers, who are the best at gaining these numbers, how many players are close to gaining those numbers. Like, all of these things matter as someone who's going to own a team and be in charge of, other people that, or just be in charge of collecting people who can produce that for you, period. But this shit is it's beyond boring. It's not just boring. It can be confusing because we're going through the history of .44. What does that mean in terms of free throws? We're breaking down how much free throws have impacted, or the history of the ingredients of free throw in shooting percentage. That's what the hell we're trying to break down right now. And I'm still confused, but I do know that and ones, the free throws, aside from the regular 2 free throws that you get a game, I am realizing now how much more impact it has in true shooting percentage. And I've always respected true shooting percentage. I just took it for what it was. Like obviously field goal attempts are so much easier to understand, right? Blocks per game is the easiest thing to understand. But they do have other stats on NBA.com, like deflections and stuff like that. That's important too. And not just that became more popular because of fantasy leagues and fantasy teams, and but it's also important when while you're betting, while you're gambling, because for me, you can really sense a team that can create turnovers like that, especially when you have a couple of guys that are in the top 20, top 30 in steals per game, and you have a bunch of guys that lead the league in deflections or are in the top 20, top 30 in deflections. When you have that combination, then you can start betting a certain way. So all this information is important. It's like tonight, I told Uncle Ice, shout out to Uncle Ice, Bucket of Ice, Knicks Wednesdays. You already seen us going wild the game one. RJ Barrett to Jalen Brunson to Cam Reddish in the corner. It made for a classic moment that you guys missed because you're a bunch of suckers. I'm putting my Cash App up, by the way. I'm putting my Cash App up. I felt like I was begging at first, but then I thought about it. I spoke to my man KG. Shout out to him. Yeah, I'm veering off. It's 12:30 in the morning. But I'm putting my Cash App on YouTube because we're investing a lot. All ball. The network is serious. All ball. Shout out to Zay. Just seen him on the live. The network is serious. We're making things happen. We love ball. We love talking about sports. We love the game. We love New York City. We love representing us. And I see too many lame motherfuckers out here that just, I don't want to read about true shooting percentage from you guys because you guys aren't the teachers that we wanted around anyway. Right? That's what this is all about. Is understanding basketball, even on a nerd sense. How can I make this shit cool? You can't make analytics cool, but you can understand the history of it. And then I can go back and forth with someone who tries to pitch me this because I'm going to understand the basis. I'm going to understand the foundation of what the hell they're talking about. Because field goal, like I said, once we start talking about gambling and fantasy sports, that's why you hear certain, when people, you can understand when people start talking about from a certain angle. When it comes to gambling, when you gamble with your heart, you're done. So I was going to mention about Uncle Ice today. The Jazz, this is their second game back-to-back in a back-to-back nights, right? This is their second game back-to-back nights. Where they at? Utah Jazz. They played yesterday. They went to overtime against the Pelicans. 114. And the Utah Jazz lost tonight 114-108. If I'm not mistaken, they went under from the over-under for tonight. Had I spoken to Uncle Ice prior to he put his FanDuel joint in, I would have told him I wouldn't have gone with the over because the Jazz are not going to make it. The Jazz are not going to make the over, no matter in spite what you think or despite what you think what they are. They played last night. They went to overtime. It's going to be rough on them. They don't have a superstar guy to come out here on a back-to-back night and really push them. So on top of that, like I said, it's a back-to-back, second night of a back-to-back. Even though it is the Rockets, the Jabari Smith kid, he looks good and he can hit free throws. That they kept fouling him. At the end of the game, he was holding on to the ball, and it was like, it's pretty unprecedented, or not unprecedented, but it's rare for a big man to get the ball. And he just looks like a 7-foot guy out there who's just, I'm going to hold on to the ball. You got to foul me. I'm going to hit the free throws. But second night of a back-to-back for the Utah Jazz, I wouldn't have bet on an over-under. I wouldn't have bet on the Jazz to do anything but the under. Where did they shoot? Let's see. They beat the Timberwolves yesterday in overtime. Timberwolves do not look good to me. We'll get to that in a second. They beat the Wolves in OT. Wow. So I forgot they beat the Wolves in overtime on Friday, and then they beat the Jazz yesterday in overtime. So this is their third game in 4 nights. This is their third game in 4 nights, and 2 of those games were in overtime. There's things like that you got to watch. What I say, the Pelicans. They only shot 44% against the Pelicans. 34% from three, better than the Pelicans 29. Total rebounds 44, 45. Turnover 16, 17. Points in the paint. Fouls. If you just go by stats, you would not even know why the Jazz won. Why they beat the Pelicans. Marketing killed them though. Laurie Marketing had 31. Olenek had 20. But I think Zion had gotten hurt. Zion and injury diagnosis announced. Okay, Olenek. He had a hip injury. So Zion has a contusion after exiting against the Jazz. I thought he had, when I watched the game, it looked like I thought he fouled out or something. Let's see. I should show you what I'm looking at, right? I hate the fact that I can't add more than one screen. Utah Jazz. Yeah, Brandon Ingram in concussion protocol. He's in NBA's concussion protocol after colliding with teammate in Sunday's overtime loss to the Jazz. There's no timetable for Ingram. So Brandon Ingram and Zion are out. And Herb Jones, who also suffered injuries on Sunday. So they have all four guys. The Pelicans have all four guys looking to not play next game. So Ingram looks like he'll definitely be out. Zion is definitely going to be out because he's always, if he's just injury prone, and if, I mean, you put yourself in the owner's position, you're making the phone call like Zion's not playing. I didn't see how Herb Jones got hurt. I didn't see how any of them got hurt, to be honest. Z's fall could have been much worse, and it doesn't seem like it is. Sore bruises. Brandon gets hit in the face. Herb's knee. Nothing catastrophic, but something we have to monitor over the next few days. Willie Green. Also, Chauncey Billups got to get credit. 4-0. Willie Green is 3-1 as a coach. I tweeted this earlier. Doc Rivers could get fired because no longer do you have a black coach. Like, I know we have the woke movement going on here, but Doc Rivers is one of those. It's not just a mediocre like Lenny Wilkins to me. His most winningest coach thing was always like a farce. I never cared for what Lenny Wilkins. I don't know if I could have, like, was he really a great coach? I don't know. He's obviously a good player. I think he pushed Dennis Johnson to get out of Seattle when when they won a chip. But Doc Rivers could go. I'm just, Ty Lue, Willie Green, Darvin Ham, right? When you can complain about a Steve Nash, first year coach, or first time coaching ever, right? Darvin Ham's been on a bench, assistant coach for 9 seasons, 4 with Atlanta, 4 with the Bucks, 1 with the Lakers. Steve Nash has none of those, right? And he's a great player, don't get me wrong, of course. But, Jason Kidd was a great player. He kind of went to become the Brooklyn Nets coach as well. I don't know if Jason Kidd was a. Let's look that up. Was Jason Kidd ever? His name Rookie of the Year. Yeah, the Mavericks, Bucks, Nets. That's all I said. Oh, he was an assistant coach on the Lakers, but that was after he was a head coach on the Nets, on the Bucks, also, and nobody complained about that then. And he came in there with veterans also. He was coaching the Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce Nets, and he was doing some shenanigans. So there was thoughts that he wasn't going to be a great coach. I think also Jason Kidd's demeanor is different than Steve Nash. Steve Nash seems to be like a happy-go-lucky hippie type of dude, and Kidd is more like, you know, he just seems like he's the point guard that somehow you respect him as a point guard. There's something about him where you can respect him from your couch. Like there's something to that where we can sense that it's not just all images, everything. Like it's not just this moving image we're seeing on our television. We can feel that with Jason Kidd. It's almost like with Phil Jackson is so. Phil Jackson's a hippie too. Like I'm not just saying Steve. That's not. I read disrespect from Steve Nash based on just being a hippie. Phil Jackson was a hippie, but he had tactics about him. There's a character to Phil Jackson. There wasn't any timidity. Steve Nash comes off way too timid for someone who's going to be coaching that many stars, and maybe he could be like the nice guy father on like the TV shows on like on TGIF Fridays on Disney Channel. For anyone who's younger than me doesn't understand what the hell I'm talking about. The older folks, the Howdy Doody, Leave It to Beaver, Dad. For the new guys, like the Disney father. Like that's what Steve Nash reminds me. Like, oh, don't worry, we'll get him next time. It's like, Phil Jackson doesn't come off that way. Jason Kidd doesn't really come off that way. Jason Kidd comes off very sneaky, by the way. That's what he comes off to me. No disrespect to him. But I'm always usually correct with this sneaky business. CP3, I've always said, always comes off sneaky. And Kenya Martin confirmed it for me a couple of years back on Colin Cowherd. But the point is, it takes a lot to I'm happy that these, we can get past like this, just the like why does it need to be an obvious like racial barrier, especially in basketball. And football is even worse because you got 50 players on the team, and there's 30 teams. That sounds crazy. That sounds crazy. Is that 1,500 players in the league? Let's say 1,000 of them each season, or at least 1,000 of them are black, right? Because that's 2/3. I would think it's more than 2/3. At least 1,000 of the 1,500 players in the NFL every year are black, and we don't have enough black head coaches. Like they're not even thought of as being able to run your team. A lot of organizations are going to be like that. Again, especially when, who has the money, who has control of the money. It just is what it is. Well, we were talking about the Trailblazers, and we were originally breaking down like true shooting. Which was a part 1, by the way. They had to mention my Knicks. I'm not so sure. The New York Knicks and their scoring abilities. As an example, let's consider the 2018-19 New York Knicks. Through their first 40 games, the Knicks have settled into a 10-30 record. Some of this is due to their league-leading 52.8 true shooting percentage and their second to last 54.3 opponent effective field goal percentage. While their other offensive stats are top half of the league, there are some defensive deficiencies on defensive rebounding, while middling in the areas of opponent TOV percentage and opponent FTR percentage. As a team, Tim Hardaway Jr. is the main catalyst on the offense, while Kristaps Porzingis rehabs from a torn ACL towards the end of the 2018 season. So legend A1 is and1, T is technical, 3 is missed 3.0. So they break down which free throws are which. By extracting the different types of free throws, we can now write a scoring attempt as field goal attempt plus free throw attempt minus A1A minus TA minus 3A minus APA minus FA. This is literally a calculus problem. This will accurately count the number of scoring attempts generated by the shooter. But as indicated in the previous section, the updated true shooting percentage, like arrow up, barely budges by more than 1% for anyone. What's more important here is that we have broken up the components of true shooting percentage into semi-independent measurable count processes. Wahoo. He really says wahoo. So after 1,500 words typed in here, you decide it's time to say wahoo and show some fucking personality. Who wrote this? Justin Jacobs. You're a bit of a jerk, Justin Jacobs. Like, just being a friendly critic here. So they're going to get into more stuff. But this is what makes it even more boring. Like, there's no way this can ever be interesting. Ever. I would have to somehow... Like, you can't... How can you make an anime cartoon? How can you really... You can't really smack anyone with data like this. FTA minus A1A minus TA, bitch. Like, you can't really... How am I going to really, that's what I'm saying. It takes away from the fun. It just does. Your man scores this much and on this many shots. That's pretty simple. And if they're able to draw fouls, we can see that. It's very, that's, a lot of this, again, it all stems from Bill James and sabermetrics in baseball. And I think the breakthrough moment, or just definitely a revelation for him, is, a walk and counting as a batting attempt. And it's really a plate appearance. So this is basically their version of free throw appearances. That's what they should call it. But they don't have me on their side. Shooting appearances. No, that's stupid. But free throw appearances, I think, sounds dope. Is that what the ace? No, ace is attempt. I would say free throw appearances. Bling. If I had, like, once I edit this stuff up, it'll be bling. A little light bulb will pop over my head right now. If we were looking into developing a paper for Sloan, right. So this is all like, come on, man. Free girls in your city. You know what's messed up? You guys popped up in my live to do that. To tell me about free hot girls in my city. Why are you assuming that I don't get no ass? Mr. 69 Girls XYZ, Mr. Sexfiend.biz. Are you really American? Are you a British man? Or do you understand English from your side of the world? Or do you have a copy and paste method of scamming the hell out of us? Fucking savages. Oh, my Knicks one. I gotta rewatch the Knicks game so I can talk about it tomorrow. That'd be really dope. I've been on for 50 minutes, but I made it my business to come on live. I had to start coming on live more often because I got to show love. But Cash App, Fabian Perspective. Cash App, Fabian Perspective. We raised money for studio equipment. Got the lights, got camera action, got a whole bunch of stuff going on. Probably got another mini green screen, so I could throw that up real quick behind me. I could do something, some slick stuff. Yeah, I should go around the league, right? The Pacers got smoked. The Pacers are bad. They didn't impress me whatsoever against any team. Like so far, the Pacers, who have been the most unimpressive teams. Like I was talking crap about the Lakers, but they're better than the Pacers. I was talking crap about the Sixers, but they were better than the Pacers. The Orlando Magic, I'm kind of surprised. They look better than the Pacers, especially maybe I'm just big on Banchero like everybody else is. I don't know how anybody, I was saying that about Bill Simmons. What the hell does Bill Simmons watch? Like Paulo Banchero, he looked like he was made to play basketball even from summer league. Like once you see they leave college and they go in the summer league, that's like a different level up. He just looks different. He looks like he's ahead of schedule, just ahead of them. The Miami Heat fall to 1-3, lost to the Raptors. That was after they beat the Raptors yesterday, right? Might have been Saturday. Yeah, they beat the Raptors for their first win on Saturday. The Knicks beat the Magic. I got to stop there real quick. 20 points each for Brunson, Barrett, and Julius Randle. All ball is still probably pissed off for some reason. Blanchero, I told you, that guy's the real deal. He's the real deal. There's no doubt about it. He's a no doubter. No doubter. I mean, last year's the best draft since the LeBron draft, the 04 draft. Last year, 2023 draft, 2022 draft. I'm sorry, the 2021 draft is the best draft since 2000 and 2004, easily. And it's probably better. It's better than the 04 draft, and it's up against the 96 draft. Last year, you have Cade Cunningham, Scotty Barnes, Evan Mobley, Franz Wagner. There was a lot of guys last year that were really good. And Franz was picked later than Jalen Suggs. Like Orlando might have really messed up on a couple picks there. But Banchero looks really good. The Knicks, how come I just can't get to the box score? Oh, my bad. You know what? The Knicks won. Chicago beat Boston. I'm a little surprised by that. Chicago had a close game last time out before. I'm still surprised by that because Boston, Tatum was looking like just a different person, like an animal. Looked very focused the first couple games. He had 26. Brown had 21. But Tatum looked very focused early on. I think everyone has them in the running. It's obviously early to talk about anyone, and they're still missing Time Lord. They're still missing Time Lord. DeMar DeRozan 25. Dasumu at 22. Really good defender. 9 of 10 from the field. That's pretty amazing. Let me go back to the Knicks now that I can find the box score. Julius Randle was killing the Orlando Magic, and he went to work like he should have been from the outset, 10 of 19. But he started off like 5 of 5 on the field, and he just looked. Julius Randle looks different in terms of he's going right. First of all, he's going right with no problem, and the other thing is he's shooting from closer to the basket, even though 2 of 9 from 3-point from 3 today. That kind of goes against exactly what I just said right now. But Julius Randle, when he has the ball in the mid range, he's not settling. He's looking to get closer to finish closer to the basket, even though it's a little jump shot fade away. There was one play where he got ripped or he messed up against Bobo. Turns it over. Bobo ends up coming down court. Finishes nicely on Randle. Randle comes back down next time down the court and goes straight to the basket, all muscle. So I want to compare Julius Randle to Francisco Lindor. Two guys who got a major contract, booed the crowd in New York City. I think Lindor's was a little more justified. Randle's, they were both emotional, trying to get over it. But this year, he seems a lot more focused. I was talking to, shout out to Nick Mack. I was talking to him about it. And the first thing I said was, hey, Julius Randle comes off like he's paying attention and he's paying attention to his emotions. The referees or whoever might scream or say something, or make the wrong call. But he was running to the coach every time he felt angry. And they would take care of it. I just enjoyed seeing that because you can say he's running to his daddy if you want, but I hope he does not think too much about this. I hope he does not overthink this. And Julius Randle understands that he is doing the right thing. And again, like I always say, it's not really about just winning. Because you can see how the Lakers fans, how do they really care about winning the 2020 bubble ring? They really don't. Because it's a combination of the bubble ring, it's a combination of the LeBron baggage. It's also, AD being hurt. What is the culture behind this team? The culture behind the Lakers team is a lot of dramatics. It's a lot of Hollywood production behind it. And the Lakers fans are not enjoying themselves. And the same thing can be said for the Brooklyn fans. When you try to put a team together instantly like that, you're not always going to get the Miami Heat, right? When the Golden State Warriors added Kevin Durant, they already had a culture in place. They already had that culture in place. So that's what it is to me. Like I don't think people get to understand that. For some reason, that's the part of ring chasing, ring culture that people are never going to understand. Like my girl the other day, I think we were talking about Tom Brady and somebody else, and she was saying how Tom Brady, he has 7 rings. And we talked about another player, and he was like, he has no rings, so he's not that good. It's like, that's not the case. Even with Dame Lillard, look where they are right now. Where they are right now. Dame Lillard and the Portland Trailblazers do not have to win a ring to prove to me that Dame Lillard is a winner. He's just, if you like Kyrie better than him, who, by the way, I'll get to that in a second, but him and John Morant were going back and forth. If you like Kyrie better than Dame Lillard, that's fine. That's cool. But you're not going to tell me Kyrie's more of a winner because he got a ring. Because I'll tell you that Dame Lillard doesn't leave LeBron, and they might win more than one ring because they think he was healthier than Kyrie ever was, and also he would have never left. Those things matter when creating a culture. That player wanted to stay on that team, and sometimes we hear it regurgitated, we hear it repeated often by the media, and it turns into like a journalist fodder. It just turns into like a punchline. And we hear it over and over again, and we don't understand the meaning of that. It means a lot. Like all my criticisms of Carmelo Anthony in New York for the Knicks, I have plenty of them. Plenty of them. Some of them were like, I thought he wasn't a leader, but someone like Iman Shumpert and I think even J.R. Smith, they're proving to me that he was a leader. He was a leader in his own right. But everyone's not gonna be, like Chauncey Billups at his prime of being a leader. Everyone's not gonna be Bill Russell. Like Bill Russell seemed to be. How much more focused and disciplined can you be considered as a leader? You can't be more considered more focused and disciplined as a leader than Bill Russell. Impossible. I should go on Twitter to make sure nobody's tweeting me. I probably didn't get any tweets because I would have saw it on my phone. Sarah followed me. Sarah, get the hell out of here with your get the fuck out of here, Sarah. So yeah, I forgot what the fuck else. Or leaders. Again, everyone can't be considered like a Bill Russell type of leader. But if we're talking about like who thinks they're Bill Russell and who actually is more like Bill Russell, I would have to think Dame Lillard is way more Bill Russell than Kyrie Irving, right? Like there should be a Bill Russell award for leadership on the team. And I'm not even sure like if Michael Jordan was that much of a like a celebrated leader. He's a celebrated winner. He's definitely like a celebrated macho dude, but I'm not sure if he's a celebrated leader. You know what I mean? Um, but the same way you can compare Kyrie and Dame Lillard, they were comparing like Michael Jordan and Draymond Green with the punching their teammate incident. And it's just two different things. It's just two different things. The actual punching somebody in the face is clearly the same. I don't think Steve Kerr, if you would have asked who would win in a fight, I don't think anyone would have taken Steve Kerr back then. They certainly wouldn't take him now to fight Michael Jordan and beat him. So in that sense, yes, it's pretty similar. But there's a big difference with how Michael Jordan carried himself with the Bulls. He's the best player on the team, and he got to apologize to Steve Kerr. Obviously, they didn't have the backlash. They didn't have the cameras and TMZ back then to have to deal with. But in terms of leadership, Draymond Green is credited a lot for being a leader in Golden State. And I mean, so much so that they allowed Kevin Durant or that thing to go down with Kevin Durant. The owners and general manager, I've already gone over this. They allowed for him to not apologize to Kevin Durant. He like blatantly said, I ain't apologizing to him. And he stayed on the team. So they believe in him as a leader, right? So much so that that took place and he got another contract. But compared to Michael Jordan with the punch, it's clear as day. Michael Jordan, just a lot of that had to do with him being Michael Jordan in order to get away with something like that. And I don't know if Jordan Poole is and Steve Kerr are comparable. They're both at this point just as in like you talk about the level of indispensable that either one was or is. It's pretty similar. Like Steve Kerr was gonna hit the pretty crucial shots, but Jordan Poole had a stat that was like on par with Anthony Tony and I think Jerry West in the playoff run for the Golden State Warriors. Let me see. Jordan Poole, Anthony Tony. They don't have it here. Back with Jordan Poole for it. That's averaging 30 points. Scored 25 points. He scored 25 points on 60% shooting 6 times in the team's title run, according to ESPN stats. That tied him with Jerry West in 1968 for the second most in a single postseason, trailing only Andrew Toney in 1982. So he's trailing Andrew Toney, right? He started 51 games for the Warriors before a spectacular playoff run where he scored 25 points on 60% shooting 6 times. So 6 times in the playoffs last year, he shot 60% and scored 25 points. So Steve Kerr wasn't doing that. But he also, Jordan Poole disappeared in a lot of games as well. But, excuse me. It's 1:11. I should start going to bed. How did I begin my rant? With Randall. Oh, with the Randall leadership, going back full circle. Julius Randle being a leader, going through what Lindor went through this past season. Again, I think the Knicks can have a really good season as well. They're going to be competitive. We don't know what the ceiling is for the Trailblazers. Adam Silver speaking to. That's really interesting. I wonder if they'll cut us out on Adam Silver. Looking for the age limit of the NBA. No, how about right, the tanking.
With us today.
Of course.
The games, they've been so much fun. They've been so great. They've been so fun to watch. We have a myriad of topics to get to today. So let's start here with ESPN's Baxter Holmes reporting that in a recent meeting with Phoenix Suns employees, you addressed possible solutions for tanking, reportedly saying we put teams on notice, and particularly this season ahead of Victor Wembanyama entering the draft. So what are the specific measures, the notices you're considering to prevent teams from tanking this season?
Well, let me just say, of course, that's not the reason I was in Phoenix talking to their staff. But, after we talked about the situation there, I think I got some general questions about what was happening in the league. And so this whole notion of tanking came up. Nothing new in the league. And in fact, as you know, Malika, shortly before the pandemic, roughly 2019, we had changed the lottery odds yet once again. Not that I can say that we knew that Victor Wembanyama was coming precisely at this time, but we lowered the odds really essentially for the worst three teams in the league, and then for the fourth team only has a slightly better odds. So it's roughly around a 14% chance. So said differently, if you have the worst record or one of the worst records in the league, you have an 86% chance of not getting the top pick. So I think that's first and foremost one of the most important measures we've taken. And then on the flip side, we added the play-in tournament. And the idea of the play-in tournament is that if you're a team that starts slow or has an injury beginning early on in the season, that it's not worth throwing in the towel on the season because you can come back and actually make the playoffs. So those are the things we've done. I mentioned, and Baxter Holmes reported it, some other areas that we've looked at over the years. I can't say I was deadly serious about talking about relegation because we don't have the same system as European soccer, and it would make no sense to send an NBA team to the G League or the G League team up to the NBA. But obviously that's how other leagues deal with situations like this, where they force teams to stay competitive because the consequences of finishing at the bottom of the league are dramatically detrimental to the health of the team. But it's something, as I was saying to the folks there in Phoenix, that we keep our eye on. I mean, obviously we understand we're selling competition to our fans, and it doesn't mean that rebuilding isn't appropriate for certain teams. But incidentally, I view tanking, I know the way in which you're saying it, but certainly if we thought that players on the floor, there was anything happening in an organization that meant that a team was intentionally losing games, I view that very differently than an organization that is truly rebuilding, recognizing that they're going to need to restock with great talent in order to improve.
But with a once-in-a-generation player like Victor being slated to come into the league, have you reminded teams, had heightened conversations yet?
In a general way, we have. I mean, I think everyone understands that. As I said, I think most importantly, you're dealing with a 14% chance of getting the first pick. So teams understand that. I agree. I was listening to part of the show from Ramona and Kendrick before I came on, talking about the basketball gods. I'm in that camp too. I recognize at the end of the day, analytics are what they are, and it's not about superstition. 14% chance arguably is better than 1% chance or no percent chance. But as I said, it doesn't, even in terms of the straightforward odds, it doesn't benefit a team to be the absolute worst in the league. And even if you're one of the poor performing teams, you're still dealing with a 14% chance. But I think it's one of these things, there's no perfect solution, but we still think a draft is the right way to rebuild your league over time. We still think it makes.
Yeah, I mean, he's right. Last time, maybe with this I'll be fine. I mean, he's clearly right? Like, there's nobody's gonna argue. Tanking is not the greatest thing. We don't want to see that shit. But do they have it right? It was getting rid of the center. This was definitely part of the deal, where there's going to be much more skilled players around the world compared to, the Shaqs and the Yao Mings. There's obviously just much more perimeter players, and they're coming into the game, which is again why when people make that argument, like people are more skilled now, it's like, the skilled players are allowed to be just allowed way more liberties now because they're in high demand. They're in much more higher demand, especially post Michael Jordan. And it got even crazier after his second retirement, his last retirement. But because of that, I think they're able to, this is part of David Stern's dream, where I think he realized, there's this, how can we get the most type of basketball players around? Because, the Shaqs of the world, even if you were able to get Shaquille O'Neal, another Shaquille O'Neal, it would only be one, as opposed to, 10 athletic players who can all dunk, even though they play very similarly. No matter what, you're going to have similar type of players. But this is the way face-up style basketball, playing with what's considered more skills. You're gonna have them come in there, and you're gonna have more of them available around the world, especially. And look at Luka Doncic and Dirk Nowitzki ever since then. Even Giannis, all these guys come from around the world. Ironically, Hakeem Olajuwon is the best post-up player ever, best footwork for a big man probably ever. And ironically, he's not from the States. So, the point being, they're going to find way more players that fit the mold. You still could have found other ball players without, when you get even before you implemented the zone. If you never implemented the zone, you probably could have still found all the talent in the world with ball players and everything, but it just changes everything. And now with tanking, I think this has so much more to do with the owners being smarter as well. The owners are going to take different types of strategies to win, as opposed to, and especially in the long run, like they're willing to lose for 2 or 3 seasons if it means getting 2 or 3 of the top draft picks. So, Sam Hinkie and, the Philadelphia 76ers, they're responsible for changing the game forever, apparently, right? So that's a good thing, though. That's why we have to find these guys that cross the line and look for the boundaries, because they have to really show us what we don't want, and we're going to come in a time now where I would think the LeBron thing, people, I don't know if people are going to change teams as much. They might, like, where would Giannis go if Giannis was a free agent? I would think he goes to the teams that are most competent. And I think, I truly believe we're about to have way more competent ownership, way more competent front offices, way more competent head coaches than ever. I think that's not stressed enough. It's not just about, the biggest or the most skilled players ever, especially percentage-wise, playing the game now. Especially what we consider a skilled player. Anyone who doesn't know, I consider them a skilled player who the typical pass shooting, dribbling, catching, athleticism. Did I say shooting? Yeah, pass shooting. And even with defense, like I think as far as defense goes, I don't know how many great defenders there really were back in the day. We don't factor that they had a big man as an anchor. It's way different than now, where you're defending someone and there's a lot of rotating going on because you can't touch the offensive player. You can't touch the offensive player. They're going to do a pick on me, so I can't even grab you to slow you down. And on top of that, I know I have somebody there who's going to switch. I'm trained to do this since high school now, as opposed to before where they were not trained to do this. They were not trained to do this. We have 10 years of these players coming from junior high school and high school trained to switch, and especially getting into the paint. Shout out to Alex Hoops. He broke down a really good video of John Beeline, who's now working for the Detroit Pistons, if I'm not mistaken. But he's like basically the biggest winner in college basketball history, in my opinion. He's won at least 20 games in every division of basketball, men's basketball, and men's college basketball. But Alex Hoops basically broke down his career. He broke down John Beilein's coaching career and how he changed his strategy from doubling or prioritizing any player or offensive player that went to the basket. And instead of just prioritizing on them, the help defense, instead of sinking low into the basket or remaining low in the basket for the double team, they now rotate to the 3-point line because that's where a lot of the plays are being made. Just like we broke down with the true shooting percentage earlier. So analytics aren't the only way for these guys to get smarter. You're gonna have a hope like the whole tech wave and all these owners are coming into the game, a lot smarter. It's not just the players coming in a lot smarter. They're being surrounded by a lot more information and useful information, not just misinformation. The misinformation, I think, happens with too much information, or it's way too emotional. Like the Lakers situation sounds very emotional. And in that case, you're kind of like nobody's going to tell Russell Westbrook to sit down. Just come off the bench. Or maybe LeBron comes off the bench. Like, which one would you rather have? They just clearly can't play together, right? So the numbers are probably going to show that. And I would think if Darvin Ham was smart, he would present that if the numbers are there. I mean, they're 0-3, right? But the owners and front office, they're going to sit down and they're going to break these numbers down as well. I would think they do if they're involved. Jeannie Buss has been around her whole life with the Lakers, or since she was a teenager. I don't know if they're a fan of looking at this, but if they're not, you're talking about the second most valuable franchise in the sport not listening to data. It just makes no sense. And you have a team across town or in the same city, in the Los Angeles Clippers. You don't think Steve Ballmer is looking at every single bit of information of how to make his team better? Steve Ballmer, who worked his way up in Microsoft. He wasn't just some random owner or investor in Microsoft. He was an employee initially at Microsoft, and he came up and became an owner and became a billionaire off of work ethic. And everything about the tech world is data. So this is what it is. We live in a tech world version of the NBA and of sports, and it affected every sport. So the Lakers are living in a land like that with the Clippers in town that might outclass them because their owners are basically old school, right? Like Jeannie Buss, they come from this regime of let's just get the superstars and we'll be okay. That used to be the case. But now it's like it's turning into soccer where we're just rooting for the culture of the sport. We're rooting for the narrative of the sport to be able to argue about it. They're really, I don't know how much game people watch. And you can tell by the way they talk. It's like you're either repeating somebody else's thing or, I really deep dive into that. But there's just way more information out there to surround these guys with the right players. Everyone can't do what the LeBrons of the world and Kevin Durant's do of the world. They can, set out their own destiny because they have that much leverage and being that good. Because in basketball, it's not like baseball, and where you can be that good and still be traded. Like look at the Astros in baseball. They lost Correa, who's a really good shortstop, but he's replaceable. Because in baseball, you just focus on those appearances, like we talked about with the true shooting percentage. Focus on the best, the most efficient, the players who approach plate appearances the most efficiently. That's who people target in baseball. In basketball, it seems to be the players who are going to approach free throw shooting the most efficiently. I wonder if there's a correlation with that. After this, I shall go to sleep. Free throw percentage. Patrick Beverly. Okay. Team statistics. This is the Cavs right now. Cavs, Heat, Hawks, Celtics, 76ers. So the fact that the Sixers and the Heat are in this conversation or in this top 5 knows everything I just said. But that's not true shooting percentage, right? So let's see. Top. That's this year. Well, Denver is the only team that we're not impressed by, right? So far. This is last season, though. Oh, this is this year. True shooting percentage, 2022. So, what? Why did they make this so confusing? 2022. So it looks like this year, Boston, Dallas, Denver, Cleveland, and Golden State lead the league in true shooting percentage. All right. So we say Boston, Dallas, Denver, Cleveland, Golden State. Denver just lost. Denver is the most unimpressive. Boston, Dallas. So Cleveland is 6th in the Eastern Conference right now, but it's the Hawks. They all have one loss: the Knicks, Cavaliers, Hawks, Wizards, Hornets, Celtics. So it's the Celtics. What East team is on here? Just the Celtics is the only East team. Everybody else is a West, and Cleveland. Cleveland, their offense look kind of out of sync. Donovan Mitchell's doing a lot for them. Golden State, of course, is Golden State. Charlotte had a great game the other day as well. San Antonio beat who tonight? It was a bad Minnesota. Yeah, Minnesota is just get out of here, Minnesota. But yeah, so true shooting percentage doesn't necessarily indicate the be all end all, but these were all playoff teams last year. Yeah. So that'll be all. Hour and 30 minutes. That's crazy. That's way too long. Yes, it's way too long. Cash App, Fabian Perspective. Cash App, Fabian Perspective. Signing off, Fabian Perspective. Expect it and accept it. See y'all tomorrow. Very special guest tomorrow on All Ball. Got a Harlem Globetrotter in the building. All Ball Uncle Ice tomorrow. Fabian Perspective. Dime Dropper coming out. Jump on Dime Dropper, man. Dime Dropper Live. He got a vlog out right now about the Clippers, if I'm not mistaken. But we will be doing some things in the future. Got to sign off. It's 1:30 on the East Coast, baby.